I'm here with Betty Seeley at 10 Bryan Avenue in Malvern, Pennsylvania. Pretty interesting stories Betty's telling us about her experiences with having a major motion picture filmed in her home. And the really funny story to me that she told me was the day you were sitting on your front porch. Can you tell us about that, Betty?
Yes, I was sitting on my front porch in the middle of June, and I was talking with friends, and these two women approached and said, we're interested in doing a movie in your neighborhood, and we're specifically interested in your house. And I thought they were frauds, so I thought I'd get rid of these people pretty quick.
Jokers.
Yeah, so I said, well, who's the director of the movie? And they said, Peter Jackson. Well, I knew that name, so that gave them some credibility. So they said, well, can we come back tomorrow and look around inside the house? So I said, well, okay, you can. So they came back, a whole crew of them.
The next day?
Yeah, maybe 20 or 30 of them. And my husband said only 3 will be allowed in the house.
Crowd control, right?
Yeah. So they went out and picked 3, and I didn't know it, but Peter Jackson was out there. But they didn't pick him to come in. It was the photographer and the regional manager and the art director. When they came in and looked around and seemed pleased with what they saw. And then after they left, my husband said, no movies in this house. No lights, no people, I don't want them. So I'll relate that.
You had a fight on your hands, huh?
I did. So they said they would send him anywhere he wanted to go on vacation and pay all expenses. So
if he would agree?
If he would agree.
Well, they really must have wanted the house, right?
They did. They really wanted the house. So he agreed to go out to his cabin in Western Maryland, which he went out anyway in the summers.
You mean so he didn't say, send me to Bali?
No.
To Fiji or some exotic destination? He wanted to go to the cabin in the woods.
Yes. So he went to the cabin in the woods, and they said I could stay here. And so I stayed out of sight, but it was interesting to see how they film with the actors and actresses, and I saw how hard they work and how many takes it takes to get 5 minutes of the movie.
Wow. So, Betty, can you tell me about the cookie story?
All right. My husband was out in the woods, and I guess Peter Jackson wanted the whole crew to come and see the house. So
you're by yourself then?
I'm by myself. So I called my husband. I said, what do you feed talented people? I have no idea. Please help me. He said, well, make something you're familiar with, like chocolate chip cookies. So
who doesn't like chocolate chip cookies?
Right, at 9 o'clock in the morning. So anyway, I made up a big batch of chocolate chip cookies that morning, put them on the table with a hot tea. And they went for them and loved them, and I continued to make chocolate chip cookies for them the rest of the film. And they now call me the cookie lady. So when they think of the South, they think of me as the cookie lady.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get that recipe for those cookies, Betty. I'd like to serve them on our open house when we do an open house here, I think, right?
Yeah, well, they
Can I get the recipe?
Sure.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, Betty, can you tell me about the actors, some interesting stories about the actors in the movie? There were some pretty famous names here. You mentioned Mark Wahlberg to me.
Yeah, everybody loved Mark Wahlberg.
Who doesn't, right?
When we said Mark Wahlberg was here, everybody wanted to come and see him. And actually, I missed him while he was here, but I saw him over on the set of the replica of the house, and he just gave me the biggest hug, the nicest person. Just felt like you knew him all your life. I really, really liked him. And Saoirse was delightful. We would sit around the table in the kitchen eating cookies, and I said, Saoirse, are you tired of chocolate chip cookies? No. I said, well, how about ginger? Oh, I love ginger cookies. I said, well, how about oatmeal cookies? Very dramatic. I love oatmeal cookies. So she was so dramatic, but so personable and pleasant, and it was really a nice time. And she wrote me a beautiful thank you letter telling me how much she enjoyed my hospitality.
I don't think I'd ever
nice.
seen her in a movie before this movie.
No.
Do you know, was it her debut movie here? I mean, she's pretty famous now. She's in a lot of movies now.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of her before.
I hadn't.
Peter Jackson picked her, but since...
And she was from what, Ireland?
She's from Ireland, and since he picked her, she's really made a name for herself.
Sure.
Got a Golden Globe Award for Little Women.
Oh, that's just came out, I think, didn't it?
Yes,
this year?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So I think you told me that Mark Wahlberg wasn't originally hired for this movie, right? Can you tell us that story?
Right. Ryan Gosling came that first morning to eat the chocolate chip cookies, and he also gave me a great big hug. And he had bulked himself up and had a crew cut to resemble his father, because he thought that's what Peter Jackson would want. And it was what Peter Jackson did not want. So he was fired very soon, and Mark Wahlberg appeared. And of course, he did a beautiful job in the movie.
And I think he had more of the 70s shag looking haircut.
Yeah.
Was looking a little more sporty, a little less like a gym teacher with a crew cut, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, let's see, what else?
Can you tell me about the oven in the house, Betty?
Oh, okay. When they were first coming to look over the house, I scrubbed the house from top to bottom, but left the oven because I figured there's no way they're going to come and look in the oven. So they walked in the house and went straight to the oven and opened it and said, "Can we take this to be in the movie?" I was so embarrassed because I hadn't cleaned it. They could have cared less. So they took the oven out, put it on a truck, and took it over to the replica of the house where they did the inside filming. And they were so pleased to get that oven. I guess it's hard to get a 50-year-old oven. So they were really pleased to get it.
Yeah, it was crazy how they filmed coming out of the, like from inside the oven, they filmed the kitchen scenes of the family.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Betty, can you tell me what it was like having a movie filmed in the neighborhood here? What did the neighbors think of all this, and how were they wrapped into this whole story?
Well, they had a dinner for us up at the local restaurant to get all the neighbors together and explained what they would be doing. And so everybody was very excited. I think there were one or two holdbacks that they bribed to cooperate. But as a whole, the people would come out and line up and watch the filming, and were very positive about it. And I was very lucky that way that they cooperated, and because we're a very close-knit neighborhood anyway, so what affects one affects everybody.
Right. You told me they had to change some of the exteriors of the homes too, right?
Yes, they took off the siding of 7 homes and put new siding on to fit the time that the movie was filmed.
Like the late 70s, early 80s, I think.
Yeah. And then after they finished filming, they took that off and put any kind of siding on anybody wanted. They were very generous, I have to say.
Wow.
And very pleasant. We were really surprised how pleasant all those actors were. They were happy and nice and polite, and even my husband, when he came back, was impressed with the way they handled themselves.
You told me how they they blocked off the whole neighborhood.
Yes.
And they brought in trailers full of vintage cars to park in the driveways and create the 70s feel. Right, there was a whole carload of station wagons, I think.
Yeah, right. They were, and we had to take our cars up the street and park them in the parking lot, and then get them at night. So we didn't have use of our cars during the day in the neighborhood, but nobody seemed to mind.
Anything else, guys? Can you think of?
Garage.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
The gardening.
Yeah.
The patio.
Yep. Okay. So I I thought it was really interesting. You were telling me that they replaced all of your landscaping here, right? When they decided
Yes.
to do the movie. Tell me about that. Tell me that story.
Well, somebody said, I can't remember her name, I'm sorry. She was the most famous gardener in the world for movies. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but she was really good.
So she came and did.
Yes, she came. She went over to see the Japanese gardens, and she got some ideas for a shrubbery out front from that. And she stayed up till midnight planting a little garden around the bird bath. And these people just didn't pay any attention to the clock. They just did their work, and she was very pleasant. And I have the way she planted the flowers. They start blooming in spring, and then they keep opening up until fall. So I have flowers in my garden from spring to fall.
So 3 seasons, you get to an everyday remembrance of the
Yes, I
lady
do.
that was involved in the movie production, and
Yes,
that's cool.
yes. She was English, actually.
It's a nice memory. Did you tell me? I think there was no patio here previously.
Right. I had no patio, and
They wanted one, right? So
yeah. So I looked out.
What do you-
There was
what
a
do you
pile
do?
of
You make
pile
one.
of bricks out there. I said, "What are they for?" Oh, they're for your patio. I said, oh, well, I didn't realize they were going to put that in. But I think Peter Jackson wanted it because he did some filming out there on the patio.
Mm-hmm.
With swings. I think he wanted to show a normal backyard, with just kids playing and having a good time.
Right.
So I have a picture of him on the patio up there.
Now, you showed me pictures too of them actually, the production and the filming here, how they used your whole garage as basically what their audio and video production studio while they were here.
Yes, they did. Yeah, and the I don't know what you call him, but the audio fellow was he was listening in on the microphones as they ran up and down the street, but all the sound came into the garage, which I thought was interesting. I didn't realize that's the way it worked.
He was in the quiet room in there and recording all the audio and editing it all.
And every evening after filming, they would a courier would take it to New York City to do whatever you do to film, digitize it or whatever they do.
Mm-hmm. What else? There was a couple other things you mentioned that they made changes to in the house to get the look they were looking for. Correct? Didn't they? They removed a closet in the living room here?
Yeah, they removed the closet so they could get their cameras and lights positioned for the front door because there was a good bit of filming in and out the front door.
And I can see the closet's back, so when they were done, they put the closet back. Is that right?
It took them a half hour to put the closet back. Yeah.
The stenciling, was that here, or was the stenciling done for the movie?
That was already here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neat.
The book.
Awesome. So we're here. I'm here with Betty Seeley. We're talking about the making of a movie called The Lovely Bones in her home here in Malvern at 10 Bryan Lane. It was a book that was written by Alice Sebold, who's actually from the Chester County, Malvern area, and a screenplay was adapted from this book. And really interestingly enough, they decided and chose Betty, of all places, to film the movie in her home here about this novel that was written here locally. So welcome. This is Betty Seeley. I'm James Harner. Thanks for coming.
One thing, we don't want our address made public.
Okay.
If you could take that out.
Out of?
You just said here at 10 Bryan Lane.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Okay. All right, we'll do it again. Welcome. We're here at Betty Seeley's house. We're talking about a movie that was made in her property in, 2006, 2007?
Yeah.
It was called The Lovely Bones, and it's a pretty interesting story. It was a screenplay adapted from a book written by Alice Sebold, who's from Chester County and from Malvern. And Peter Jackson directed this film and made the decision of all places, to pick Betty's home to shoot the film. Welcome. Let's take a listen to a few of the stories Betty can tell us about the filming of this once-of-a-kind movie in her home.
Good.
Perfect.
Cool. I think we're good.
Do we want to
Good.
touch on the neighborhood at all?